We're gonna try to go see Voltaire in concert, but if I let it get sold out because I don't pay attention to getting things in advance, then we'll find something else to do downtown. Let's go see Voltaire perform. Covered in cedarwood atlas.
Some voices are a real comfort, like the ones you might hear if vitamin B12 deficient enough long enough. You could draw to mind the list of legendary vocals like Anthony Hopkins, Alan Rickman, Jeremy Irons.
I'm talking to your ladies. I am well past the point of caring.
Patrick Stump, Meatloaf, Vilvallo, anyone raw, real, unique, talented, and dedicated. The kind of voice that, speaking or singing, you always feel better to have heard. High on that list is Aurelio Voltaire. From the first time I listened to his music to now, I've been excited how different it is. At the time of this voiceover, I've been a fan of Voltaire for 20 years. You can't say that of many artists. I think of the 20-year evolution of how I've approached being a fan of anything. I definitely feel the most chill about it ever, a calm, rich appreciation for anything. This concert a couple years ago is the third time I'd seen him perform, and what a performer he is. Considered goth, dark cabaret, gypsy punk, death rock, and dark wave. A staple of New York City, the Gothic subculture, and self-made artist extraordinaires. He puts heart, soul, and endless talents into everything from being an author to teaching stop-motion animation.
Indianapolis, Indiana. How's everybody doing tonight? I am Reverend DJ Wicked God.
Concerts, the Gothic Homemaking series, acting, YouTube live streams, and far more. An entertainer with many hats. For several decades, he's been captivating audiences, connecting with fans on a meaningful level. Truly caring about his lengthy discography you should be listening to, and having a positive, profound impact on the artistic community with personal style and all his encouragement of others. Illustrious, silly, and sage, many individuals and the alternative scene as a whole are grateful for the dedication from Voltaire. I've been to many concerts, and no one commands a stage like him. I hope you enjoy this video. I asked if I could film while we waltz through our Gothic night out.
Really? Oh, that's what it is.
Totally different vibes. Yep.
That's my blonde.
Bearing in mind, if you could bottle this man's aura, you'd be wealthy beyond imagining. Each tour is different. You can see him live, treat yourself to a dark brilliance and fun. And definitely, I hope you've been able to or will be able to more than once. Let's bow to the king of villains.
Chicago, we are
so happy to be back here. We love you guys.
My experiences seeing Voltaire perform have all been pretty distinct. When you think of a tall, dark, mysterious, handsome man that plays the guitar, sings like he could reshape the world with a note, and probably can, and you hear the kind of music he plays, you see how it's an accurate description to hear the original Gothic Renaissance man and his skeletal orchestra of gypsy pirates.
A symbol so primeval is not there to deceive. It's there to let you know it's deadly, just like me. When you're truly evil, it's so much fun. It's kinda like a game where some get maimed while you look out for number one. When you're truly evil, you don't care what people think. Voltaire, and that song is called The King of Villains. It is from my 13th studio album, The Black Labyrinth. The Black Labyrinth is a 20-song musical inspired by a 1986 film in which David Bowie played the Goblin King. It is my tribute to my musical hero, David Bowie. I've been working on it since he left us to return to his homeworld. 4 years to write and record, and I recorded this album with 15 members of David Bowie's band. Everybody from the pianist from Ziggy Stardust from 1972, all of the way to the sax player from Hi, thanks for coming. All the way to the sax player from Black Star, his last album. So I am quite literally the weakest link in the chain on that album. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and The Cog is Dead, and Frenchie and the Punk. And it's quite an album. Now, it is a proper musical, and every proper musical should have a villain, and it certainly does. And every villain should have a villain song. Now, as it happens, I'm already known for villain songs, so I was like, fuck. This has to be like the king of all villain songs, hence the title. You will find not one, not a dozen, but literally hundreds of fan-animated videos where people have taken footage of Disney villains and they've cut it to my very first villain song of all time, a song called When You're Evil. This phenomenon is so prevalent that at this point it is obvious to the entire world, except Disney, that I should be writing villain songs for Disney. So, on the Black Labyrinth album, I thought, how do I get Disney's attention? Plagiarism. Greedy little rat can't help himself. So So I don't know if you noticed, but in the Black Labyrinth, I quote every Disney villain who has ever sung or been sung about in a song. Disney may never have hired me to write a villain song, but the Cartoon Network certainly did. But before we get to that, I propose this question. I stand here before you on the King of Villains tour, a grown-ass 50-something-year-old man who wakes up every day and does everything he possibly can to live the life of a Disney villain. Like, I dress like a villain. I turned a tiny little New York City apartment into like Dracula's castle. And I ask you, how did we get to that? How did we get to that point? Now, if your answer is a difficult childhood, you're on to something. You're on to something. How deep and how dark it gets on this stage tonight is going to have everything to do with another famous villain friend of mine, Mr. Captain Morgan. Mr. Captain Morgan. Or your local equivalent. So depending how much rum I drink tonight, I guess is going to determine how dark this story gets. But I will start with this. From the time I was 0 years old, for reasons I do not understand, humans wished to throw darkness at me. And I went in search as a child to discover what this darkness was, to perhaps protect myself. I never did find it. I went down this other rabbit hole. I found this other thing called darkness, which ultimately was like a love of Halloween and vampire movies. Discover a love of horror, a love of sci-fi, and ultimately Gothic culture. And I gotta tell you, it didn't help me in any way whatsoever. They only bullied me more. They only bullied me more. And my poor grandmother, my Cuban abuelita, on her deathbed, literally on her deathbed, still thought there was something wrong with me because I wear all black and I love vampires and stuff like that. And I tried to explain to her, I'm a decent person, I'm a polite person, I'm a very respectful person, and she just couldn't see past the aesthetics. And I could tell you more about it, but this is already turning into a fucking TED Talk. So instead I'll just sing to you about my dying grandma. Is that how it goes? But somewhere I went wrong, 'cause you sing those death, devil, evil songs. That is an actual quote from a dying woman. It was very long, 'cause the bitch wasn't even dead yet. I'd love to. And I sang songs. Hell, you know that's how I get along. The world is full of tragedy, so how can it be wrong? Singing that devil, evil song. Unacceptable. I think it was the very first time I played it was at the wedding of the Lord and Lady Wicked Goth, who are here tonight. DJ Wicked Goth was spinning this evening. That was in 2003, and now it's 2023, so I'm bad at math, but they've been married for a long time. So a toast to Lord and Lady Wicked Goth. 20 more years, and then some. Town in New Jersey, and I was severely bullied. I ran away from home. I went to New York City. And I can tell you with a great deal of authority that if you're presently living in a scenario where people do not call you the name you wish to be called, where the way you dress or your lifestyle is the punchline of every joke, you will never succeed. And they're harsh words, but I'm telling you, you will never succeed, because you can't succeed when you're too busy trying to survive. So if you are in a situation like that, you need to get the fuck out of that situation. Whether it's fellow employees or whether it's your own family, trust me, and we'll get back to this, but trust me when I say, you need to get out of that situation so that you can thrive. Now, I ran away from that small little terrible town and to be frank, my terrible family. And I went to New York City and I was able to thrive. I thrived while I was, I thrived while I was there. And I'm gonna skip way ahead, but eventually I lived my life of wanting to become a musician like David Bowie. And eventually, wrote these villain songs, and Cartoon Network came along one day. And They asked if I would write a song for a show called The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I'm the overlord of the underworld. They're like, I'm inside of my psyche. The part of me that feels really like pumped up, like, wow, I'm like Gothic Elvis, is having a serious fucking battle with my misophonia. In any case, naive musician. I was very innocent, I was naive, I was barely out of my 30s. And I was on record number 2, and then Cartoon Network, in particular, a gentleman by the name of Maxwell Adams, who I still love to this day. He came along and he asked me if I'd write a song. And I thought to myself, this is my big break, right? So I'm like, this is it. I'm gonna write a song for Cartoon Network, they're gonna put it in a cartoon, and you know how Cartoon Network is. They're gonna cut that shit into a music video, they're gonna show it 27 million times a day, and I'm going to be famous. Now, at the time, I lived in a tiny apartment in New York City that was 10 feet by 11 feet. Spoiler alert, I'm still there, so you can see where this story's going. And I wondered to myself, when literally millions of people were hearing this song every day, why my life did not change in any way whatsoever. It took me 20 years to realize that those millions of people who were hearing my voice every day were 8. They were not exactly the movers and shakers of their generation. But 20 years have passed, and now you're all here tonight, so patience has paid off. Patience has paid off. Then let me tell you, first of all, thank you so much for coming here tonight, and secondly, this song is for you. You are way too happy about this. Bring me some brain. Let's make this song slightly more interesting. Not that interesting. When I say brains, you say brains. All of you ever say aye? Aye! It's my third favorite organ. See the dull expression on his face. You were doing him a favor and you're talking to me. He ain't using his brain, he's just watching TV. Forgotten realms that marries my music with animation. Sometimes it's normal people like you and me. That's right. For the next hour, this is what's normal. I don't know anything about these freaks out there. In here, this is what's normal right now. But in all seriousness, on a weekly basis, I receive no less than a dozen requests from people saying, hey, can I use your music in my school project? Can I use your music in like my indie horror film? I say yes to everybody. Because first of all, I think students have enough to worry about without having to deal with like copyright issues and shit like that. I learned that from Metallica. In the multiverse. It's ironic, their music sucks though. It's the other way around. Whatever. I prefer their music on this plane. But in any case, I'm the Doctor Strange of that world, by the way, though. It's true, and indie filmmakers, you know, I'm an indie filmmaker too, so if you're not gonna make money, why should I make money? Let's just use the song, have fun, let's make some art. She shows it to me. It's an animated video for one of my songs. I mean, it was spectacular. And the internet agreed, because it presently has something like 52 million views. Which really pisses me off. Because nothing I've ever done has 50 million. I mean, like, I have this goofy show no one watches called Gothic Homemaking. It's like pulling teeth trying to get 5,000 views, much less 5 million. I'm really, really delighted, of course, by all of the people who discovered my music by seeing the animations of Daria Cohen. That wasn't even the hard part. Always given to the night, she calls me. She calls me. She swings in her velvet dress, pulls me toward her in the dark. While the others rise, while the others rise. Mexico, and she doesn't really exist. No, I'm kidding. Her name's actually Frank, and she's 80 years old. She's an 80-year-old man. I'm kidding, I've met her in person. Like the cold and pretty fall, it's always Wednesday. But she might tear your world apart, because it's Wednesday after all. Things we do and say goodbye, little white lies, a small surprise, how big they grow inside. So suffice to say, I threatened a lot of 3-year-olds back then. Do that again, break the fucking legs. You know, there's a lot of that. It was not right. But anyway, so when he started to express fears, fear of the dark, fear of the monster under the bed, I wrote him a lullaby. And I would sing it to him every night before I went to sleep. And I said, hey, I'm playing in Hollywood, are you coming to the show? So he shows up at my show, and it was my birthday. And he walks in with a bottle of Cuban rum. Now, so I'm Cuban. I was born in Cuba, but I can't drink Cuban rum here in America because it's illegal, and it's a long fucking story I'm not going to get into. I was like, how did you turn out so dark and weird? Okay, you know what? Forget it. And then he pulls out a box of Cuban cigars. Cohiba's my favorite. The audience is waiting on his reply. And this shit says, I'm already familiar with your satirical Gothic styling. I was like, you're grounded! Perhaps this song is the reason he turned out so dark and weird. And this song might very well be his villain origin story. Good night, good night. Now, if I could tell you that I was a fast runner, and I would outrun them, and I would get home sometimes, we wouldn't be here. That would be my acceptance speech at the Olympics. That's me getting my medal. I was never a fast runner. It caught me more often than not. And the worst part of this
Is that?
Even if I'd gotten home, it would not have saved me in any way because, believe it or not, as hard it is to imagine, what was happening at home was vastly worse. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was not at all correct or right. But like anything that you hear every single day, it starts to seep into your bones. And eventually there comes a day where you're standing at a Starbucks and you're going, why did I fucking hate that song? Why the fuck am I singing that song? Now, I laugh about it now because what is comedy if not tragedy plus time? But I promise you that at 17 it was not funny. And in fact, at 17, I eventually came to believe them. Because I hadn't really met anybody from outside of my town. And everybody in my town felt that I was worthy of abuse and quite possibly death. So, what future was there for me? I was just going to grow up and maybe go to another town where I would be treated the same way. I thought they were right. So one day I pulled out a calendar and I selected a day and I was like, this is my last day on this shitty fucking planet. I didn't feel bad about it because death would be a release. It was a Friday night before that day. I did the only thing there is to do in New Jersey on a Friday night. I went to the all-night diner and I walked in knowing full well I was going to walk the gauntlet because I always did. And I walked in there and it was full of jocks and shitheads and I walked in and I didn't realize it at the time. But now looking back, I realized that I probably walked in like this. I was just so used to people throwing food and garbage at me and spit and everything. And in came what could only be described as a parade. The very first person at the front of this parade was a 7-foot-tall man wearing nothing but women's lingerie. You could say it was magenta. And behind her was this weird, shabby Renfield Butler kind of guy, and I braced myself for them. I looked at them and I thought, oh my God, this is going to be really bad. But because they didn't walk in like Quasimodo had been whipped one too many times. They walked in like this. comfortable with who I am. I know I'm not like you, and trust me, that might be for the best. And they sauntered over to a booth, and they all sat down. And after a little while, the 7-foot-tall man in women's lingerie got up and he walked across the room, and he knelt directly in front of my booth. And he looked me in my good eye, vastly more profound. He said to me, "You look like you could use a friend." I did not know what to say. I was literally speechless. I don't think I replied. And then he said, "Do you want to sit with us?" And I said, "Sure." I had never been shown that kind of kindness before by anyone, much less a stranger. And I got up and I grabbed my sketchbook and I went and I sat with him and I said, "I don't mean to be rude, I hope this isn't ignorant or offensive, but what the fuck is this all about? The circus in town, what's happening?" "Oh, there's this movie that we go to see every week." "Every week?" I said, "Yeah, we sing along with the songs and we act out the script and we throw toast at the screen and it's amazing. And you know what's even more amazing?" And I said, "No, what?" He goes, "That next week, you're coming with us." With my spooky friends, 1 week later, I found myself in a movie theater in the bowels of New Jersey, watching a film for the first time in my life. I was surrounded by people like me. I was surrounded by, can I say lovable weirdos? There were people who loved horror. There were people who loved science fiction. People who loved cross-dressing and kinky sex and stuff. And I knew, for the first time in my life, I realized that I was not alone on this planet. And I thought, oh my God, I don't need to kill myself. I need to get the fuck out of New Jersey and find these people. I need to find this. I ran away from home. I was 17 years old. I had no job, no money, no friends. I went to New York City. And from the moment my pointy, skull-buckled, winkle-picker boot touched Manhattan soil, or as we call it there, sidewalk, everything changed. Everything changed. People would walk up to me and they'd go, "Can I have your autograph? Are you famous?" I'd be like, "Famous? I'm 17. Will you be in my movie? You have a great look." I'm like, "Is it Velocipaster 2? Yeah. This is a real thing that happened. Someone said to me, "You make stop-motion animated films in your basement?" And I said, "Don't hit me." I said, why would we hit you? That's fascinating. I said, "It is?" And they said, "Yeah." And it was then that I realized that there was never anything wrong with me to begin with. There was something wrong with all of those weird people in that fucking conservative little town.
Yeah.
So, if you have left some terrible little conservative town because they don't respect you, whether it's even your own family, they don't call you the name you want to be called, they make fun of your lifestyle, they make fun of the way you dress, and you came here to the bustling metropolis of Indianapolis. I can't promise you what'll happen out there, but I can tell you that in here, we love you exactly the way you are. And this song is for you. This is called Raised by Bats. I've chosen bats over people, 'cause I never did like the way humans made me feel. We sleep all day and we rise at night. And people all stop and stare. I say, "Why you gotta be like that?" I just look them in the eye and tell them I was raised by bats. Or I could just sing it to you. So instead I'm just gonna sing it to you. This is where we're at right now. Oh, and now the end is near, and I face that final curtain. So goodbye to strife. This is the last dance of my life. Done both good and evil deeds. Whoa, but in the end, I was good to my friends, and that's good enough for me. I'm going to hell in a handbasket. Bohemian rhapsody. yesterday. Oh, Galileo, hallelujah, Scaramouche, Scaramouche. Oh, Beelzebub's got a devil put aside for me. Search through that darkness to find out what it was, so that I could protect myself. Led me instead down this weird rabbit hole where I discovered a love of Halloween and horror and vampire and ultimately Goths. I took all that darkness. That darkness was meant to hurt me, and I understand now that it was even meant to kill me. And I took all of that darkness, and I fashioned for myself a suit of armor. Or rather, snappy one. If being the age that I am, and dressing the way that I do, and living in the kind of home that I live in, makes me a villain to those so-called normal people out there, then all I can really say about that is, so be it. Raise your hand if you've been to one of my shows before. Wait a minute, put your hands up. Raise your hand if you've never been to one of my shows before. Virgins! Oh shit! If you've never been to one of my shows before, you may not. This is the part where I assemble a little something called the Beelzebub Philharmonic Choir. I'm evil, apparently. The devil tips his hat to me. I'm evil. Beelzebub Philharmonic Choir. $20 to get in. Your tears are all the pain I'll ever need. It gets so lonely, evil. I'm running through my teeth. Your tears are all the company I need. Gets out of this life alive. Well, that's literally true. But what I mean to say is the troubles that we experience, whether it's when we're teenagers, when we're a bit older, there is somebody who gives you hope. That I thank these people for inspiring me and gave me the opportunity to not die at 17 and to be here today with you. And so, I want to pay tribute to David Bowie and to one of my favorite villains of all time, Jareth of Labyrinth. I'm singing a song you might recall. Do you guys know Magic Dance from Labyrinth? Trying hard as they could try. What could I do? I wanna live underground. I wanna live underground. Ladies and gentlemen, there's someone else I want to thank. The sound was so amazing tonight, and that's because our sound person, Haley, is amazing.
I learned about Voltaire when attending Dragon Con 2005. Excited to be a first-time convention attendee and having recently been made aware of comic book and pop culture conventions from a friend whose parents owned a comic book shop, I'd been listening to his music as part of the convention's lineup listed online a few weeks or a couple months before going. Voltaire performs at Atlanta's Dragon Con every year, including the one where it was broadcast, a virtual performance in 2020, which I watched. I first glimpsed him in a throng of people during my first convention. Next time I saw this master of the macabre was 2011 at the Dark Cabaret tour for the album Riding a Black Unicorn. It was at my home in the form of a concert venue, the Masquerade, in Atlanta on North Avenue, which was demolished in 2016. I hadn't been there in a few years when it was torn down, maybe even 5 years, but had attended shows there for about 7 years and saw many rock gods perform while having a lot of great nights. The Masquerade, the Mask as we all affectionately called it, got a new location. For years, I kinda halfway meant to go, but never did. Sure, they still have good acts.
way about me. You do not know me. You have no idea who I am. To actually get to know who I am.
My third time seeing Voltaire perform, literally no one does it better. He's the most incredible performer. The amount of charisma and star power. I mean, he's like Zorn from X-Men. Like, he should just be wearing like one of those helmets that helps contain that Zorn's head is a star. Like, he is the most incredible, empowering, just royalty. He's got that old Hollywood glamour. He's got the charm. I mean, what a lucky person that can be in his presence for even a moment.
Come to think of it, I wouldn't be surprised if Voltaire was the last of countless concerts I saw at that venue. Definitely one of the last anyway. He had sideshow type acts, sword swallowing, a human blockhead, someone who hammers various thin metal objects into their nose and their face. A zombie prostitute dancer, all the fun stuff. The atmosphere was absolutely perfect. He was a ringleader of sorts. It was really perfect. Everything was very much like wood, fur, knives. It was just really great atmosphere all around. If you ever wonder if I like you, just know that this is the face I make when I do. Meanwhile, if I have no idea who you are, but thought you put on a good performance, oh look, I'm a normal person. It was an adult show and beautiful and fun, and it was just really cool, you know? My first boyfriend attended the show with me. It was a night to remember. I got a signed poster that said to my name, Tonight We Ride. It was one of my favorite concerts. I saw Voltaire during a daytime concourse performance years later, 2018, at DragonCon with the second boyfriend I had. We sat on the floor and enjoyed a very chill and lovely performance, the cleanest area with live music I've ever attended. Got a photo with him and another image with autograph. I couldn't have been more elated about it going on to the rest of the convention day. I've enjoyed getting t-shirts, tickets, posters. I like sending direct donations to artists through YouTube or something similar sometimes when it makes sense, and highly recommend you consider that. I love modern times and all the ways that we can support the artists that we like. Check out what's on voltaire.net/store for darkly inspired items from someone who cares about quality. He tours regularly, but there was something special about how soon Voltaire was playing in Indianapolis after I moved back there. At the Black Circle in 2023, I had mycotoxin exposure for a date and went to see my favorite artist as a single lady in my then newly reclaimed city. I still feel a bit more empathetic to the character Venom after taking on as much mold while rehabbing as I did. Can't tell you how nice it was to get dressed and go out. It was well-earned recreation, pleasant weather, a beautiful evening, and comfortable to be there. It was the mentality at the time that I felt like I was really just striking out on my own across the board, and I saw it in every little thing that I did. I was seeing my favorite artist in a town that I was new to living back in, but had been in a bunch of times, and so it's just cool to see the steps that I've made to where I'm at now. The way you feel and think of things as a fan is a reflection of how you interact with other people. As you change the way that you think of other people, of course it changes how you feel about being a fan as well. And I just feel like I've got a much more grounded perspective and can see those shifts easily between each mile marker when there's something you've done once in a handful of years. But yeah, if it was a book or movie, then I could go into really hardcore, die-hard fanaticism and collect a lot of trinketries that were relevant, it seemed, to that thing. And so it's just like now I don't need all the action figures for the comic book characters. But I was thinking of all the comic book characters, like there's just, you know, maybe like maybe they do sometimes, but it's like there's not a lot of comic book characters that I can think of that read a ton of comic books and have, certainly if they read any comics, which they do sometimes, they don't necessarily have boxes and boxes of cataloged comic books that they haul around with them. And so it's just really important to remember to use art as an addition to your life and remember your own art as well. As someone who built a literal altar around books at one point, and like the movies based on them and everything else, I can tell you, and after having all of those action figures in the packages, I treated artists, I thought of them as so far above others, and now I just see that like they have this special thing, and their special thing is in regards to performance and is in regards to art. And while I think everybody has something in them that they could express that way, you know, if not a lot of things that they could express that way, like balance, you know, it's just like everybody should be artistic, but some people might have more leanings in that direction. Anyway, I think it's cool that we can all celebrate our favorite artists, and that changes over time, and how we enjoy them changes over time. It feels good to honor, appreciate, support, do anything positive in a fan-artist dynamic while having maturity. I can't wait to have more outings like this concert. Anyway, at the time of this concert, I feel light and I'm enjoying myself. I got a small poster with his autograph. He complimented my dress and was gracious in other sentiments, including allowing me to film. The definition of don't be afraid to meet your hero. It's a pleasure to introduce people to Voltaire, and there's a certain something about concert goers, maybe people adjusting their vibration. It's interesting to think what concerts do to the human body by simply being an audience member. What a sound bath and shared energetic experience. I always liked it. How crazy to think about shifting the emotions of everyone in a venue with your performance. I learned years ago the study that claimed metal music was basically the opposite effect on water's molecular structure than classical music. I think about what kind of music matches my vibration and the vibration I desire most these days. While that study gets called pseudoscience, it's well agreed upon sound waves' impact on different pattern alignments, vibrations, and all that of water. As my tastes have changed, there's always Voltaire's diverse discography I could be happy listening to. He changes up musical style and has such a range of expressed, nuanced ideas. He has such a particular way of looking at things. There's often a mood that he's expressed no one else has in their music yet. I really love his line, you finally made me sad enough to write that song about you. And oh my God, I mean, I can't even start getting into songs and albums of his that I like, because it would just be a raving, ranting 5-star review for the entire, I don't know, hour or two. But I'm just saying, like, Almost Human, come on. And there's really fun songs on Black Labyrinth. The whole thing is a huge undertaking and magical from start to finish. I hope you check it out. Voltaire makes music you can dance and sing to. He's a marvelous storyteller. If I were asked to come up with the kind of music that had all the elements I wanted, it'd be much of his catalog. And for a villain, he always seems to have a bleeding heart in the best way. He's classy while down to earth, approachable, and the right kind of intimidating. More than good to fans. Such a great sport, professional yet warm, personable. A real beacon of what a person or artist can be. I'm not the fangirl of anything the way I once was. I don't own collections or over-identify with strangers. It's cool to admire an artist with an adult perspective of understanding how they got there. Not just thinking your idol was dipped in the river Styx as a baby like Achilles. Not putting people on pedestals or treating them as objects of worship. We keep things in perspective. But then, as Voltaire said of David Bowie, we have our heroes. They're humans too, and I think it's so fun to pay tribute back to who and what has given you so much. Voltaire's songs are catchy, vivacious, engaging. You can always support your favorite artists. Keep in mind no one is above anyone. Someone with a hero may be a hero to someone else, the way Voltaire has become a hero to many. This is an artist that really values his fans and knows that we really value him. At least I hope so, because we all really do. I've always just been over-adoring of various artists or keeping too much memorabilia. Nothing too crazy, a fairly normal amount of being a fan, but I also just feel like it's way more normal now and way more integrated. I feel like the art is part of me, so I don't have to worship it as this separate thing. And I also am an adult, so I understand like what goes into being an adult for like, you know, other artists and stuff like that. So I just want to say, like, it was never anything crazy, but I just feel like I'm a way more normal fan now. And I think as a society, we're all getting more and more to that point where we want the influences of real, authentic people and artists. All of that fanaticism and celebrity culture and so much of the manufactured stuff, everything's gone so fake for a really long time. I think it's cool that everyone's looking for stuff that's more real now. And I feel like Voltaire is the kind of artist that really survives a test like that, where it's like, were you always good to your fans? Were you always sincere? Did you always make stuff from the heart? And it's like, this is the kind of person that should have, you know, an eternal artistic platform, as far as I can tell. So because of all the different art forms, his love of the subcultures that he's part of, maybe he definitely takes care of himself. I would call him a holistic artist and say that this is somebody that you should always look out for their next project, because it's not going to be something you've seen before. You can always support your favorite artists, because of course our favorite artists are always supporting us by giving us such great stuff. And keep in mind, no one is above anyone. Someone with a hero may be a hero to someone else, the way Voltaire has become a hero to many, whether or not also a king of villains. He continues to evolve as an artist, and I as a fan. Stay healthy, get out to good concerts, and feel free to let me know, telepathically or in the comments, some of the best voices in your opinion. So, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for going to the show with me.